My name is Sally Kais, and I'm a math coach at Ida Price Middle School in the Cambrian School District in San Jose, California.
Hi, I'm Cecilio Demas. I am a 7th and 8th grade math teacher at Price Middle School in San Jose, California.
Hello, my name is Kamaljeet Sangha, and I teach 7th, 8th at Ida Price Middle School, Cambrian School District in San Jose.
What is a re-engagement lesson, and why are we actually doing the lesson that we're doing today?
A re-engagement lesson is a little bit different than a reteach lesson. A reteach lesson is where you give the students more practice using the same strategy, and sometimes you might give more practice but a little bit different strategy or a new strategy. Whereas in a re-engagement, what happens is we do analyze student work, and from that we make up prompts to bring out the mathematics, the misconceptions that the students may have, and bring it to the surface. Using the questioning techniques, we figure out exactly what are their misconceptions and address those issues.
Can someone tell me a little bit how we began planning this notion of the re-engagement, and what was our mathematical purpose for the particular re-engagement lesson today, as well as for our math department here at Ida Price?
Well, at our school, as a department, we give a Mars task called Picking Apples. It deals with cost analysis, and it's at the third benchmark near the end of the year. And we, as a staff and department, decided we wanted to get the students to be able to give multiple representations of that mathematics in that problem and other cost analysis problems. Within that, we know that the students in each different representation, they have misconceptions. So we want to target each of those different representations and do a re-engagement lesson on that.
This Picking Apples problem is a cost analysis problem
That's right,
that we're
yes.
giving to all the 7th graders here at Ida Price. And so we know that there are different avenues or strategies in order to determine that cost analysis piece, such as the verbal description, making a table, creating a graph, or coming up with an algebraic expression. And so one of the purposes then for our re-engagement throughout the year was that we just didn't want kids to feel comfortable with one of those strategies in answering that picking apples, but we wanted them to feel very comfortable with all of those. And so we knew that each of one of those had some particular challenging mathematical issues.
We basically want them to realize they also are equivalent mathematically.
Yes.
And then that tied into a Mars task that we gave called GEM. And after we gave the students the task and we analyzed their student work as a team, as a department, we realized that that we focused on question number 2, which was heavily focused on the idea of presenting their mathematical explanation using verbal reasoning or a verbal representation. And so going along with that being one of the multiple representations, we decided that we would create a re-engagement lesson based off of the GEM task, but focusing on having the students show their thinking, their mathematical reasoning using a verbal representation in addition to tabular representation.
How did we decide to go to the table next? What was our reasoning behind that?
Since the GEM task was very heavily reliant on verbal representation, we felt that that would be a lead into creating the table so that then in the future we would be able to work with them to go into graphical representation.
We also noticed that when they were trying to answer the GEM problem, they were trying to come up with some sort of table, and there were different tables, so we figured that would be the first step to approach.
As there was this idea that that was a way to organize information and organize data, but the students weren't quite sure, just like Kamaljeet just said, weren't quite sure how to organize it all.
Continuing about the lesson for today.
So then after looking at the GEM task and honing in and figuring out that the tabular representation was a representation we wanted to focus on, we created another task, another problem called DVD plans, where we had 3 different companies with 3 different plans for charging their customers to rent DVDs. And we came up with a prompt that focused on at what point of time, if ever, will the 3 plans match up? When will the plans cost the same amount of money? So we brought in the element of cost analysis, comparing 3 different plans, representing it in a table, and also using verbal representation.
And that gets back to Jim, because in Jim, it was that cost analysis piece, again, of just 2 plans, but when were they going to be costing the same, how many visits, for one versus the other?
Yes. We will be working with multiple tabular representations and really focusing on how they were set up, how they were structured, and looking at whether or not they make mathematical sense and whether or not they match the original DVD plans, and looking to see how they're structured. Some students may set it up in a vertical columns, others might use rows, and just looking at the different ways in which a student could organize their data.
The different kinds of representations in the tables that we're going to be using in the re-engagement lesson, where did those come from? How were those developed, and in what order did we decide to do them in?
Okay, we looked at student work, and we noticed certain misconceptions they had. Certain students made separate tables, certain students made one table, and certain students have it horizontally, some have it vertically. So those are the examples we use, and also depending on where they started, like start at 1, start at 0.
Okay. So we selected student work that purposely addressed particular mathematical issues that
That's
we
right.
wanted to make sure kids had a good, solid understanding of in order to understand the use of a table mathematically and the equivalence with other representations. What do we consider to be then the big mathematical ideas that we are addressing in this particular lesson, as well as what we're thinking about overall for the year as far as our lesson study and re-engagement?
Multiple representation and their equivalence of getting that same mathematical idea from all of them.
And we realize how critically important that is,
Yeah.
because there are certain students who they don't tend to see the equivalencies of them. You know, they may go just to the table, or they may go just to the verbal, and sometimes they're not really comfortable with all and realize that they can actually find out the math information from a graph or from a table.
And exposing all the students to all the
Yes.
representations.